Hello, everyone. I'm Zach Goins, and today I am joined by Christa Miller, who plays everyone's favorite nosy neighbor on Shrinking. She plays Liz. Welcome to the show. How are you, Christa?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk about Shrinking. And first things first, congratulations. Season one is in the books. We know that season two is coming at some point in the future. How does it feel to have had this, from January to now, this just like roller coaster of people finding this show, discovering it, coming to love it, and it turning into something that is so popular and getting a season two that the fans just love it that much?
It's really cool. And it's also, I was away for the weekend and people were coming up and saying, I just want to tell you, I love Shrinking. And then no one was like, can I take a picture? Everyone was wanting to talk about grief or
Right.
I've never had this on a show. No one this weekend said, oh, can I take a picture? They wanted to talk, which
Yeah.
is so different. And I'd much rather do that with people that respond to the show.
Absolutely. This is a show that very much like it has a lot to say. It means a lot to people. And they're obviously, as you just pointed out, they're taking things from it and it's leading to discussions. And I feel like for you as an actor, that's got to be much more fulfilling to have someone come up and talk about the work rather than, just get something for Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, it was and then people were lovely. I mean, everyone was like, oh, and then that I related to that, and I lost
Mhm.
my sister, and I went like it was, and also, from the pandemic, a lot of people have gone into therapy. It's like trying to get rid of that stigma of it. Um, it's been really fun. When we were working on it, sometimes I would turn to Jason. We'd have such like a great scene that you're so in it you can't even remember what you did, and I was like, I think this is a special show. Like
Yeah.
I and you never know. Everyone in every movie or everything, they're really trying to do their best. um and I would think during the show, and I don't write the show, it's not something I've written, so I feel like I can brag and say I love the show because I don't.
Right.
The writers, we do everything it's on the page.
Mhm.
Have this beautiful things to say, and it was I don't know, it was really fun.
Absolutely. I know it's you've had a very successful career when it comes to TV comedies. You've gotten a lot of big name shows from Scrubs to Cougar Town, the Drew Carey Show, now Shrinking, all under your belt. So when you're looking at this show at Shrinking, you talk about it being, that it's something special. What was it about it in particular that made Christa Miller be like, this is one that I'm going to add to my collection here?
Listen, Brett had started writing a show about this, and
Mhm.
he had written a character for me in the show, and I said to Bill, I want to do that show. And then Bill was kind of thinking of a similar show, and they decided to do it together. And it was in the pandemic. It was years before we did it. And I said and Bill had a lot of different shows. And I also, from my agent, got different shows. And I said, I want to do Shrinking. I just want to do Shrinking. I just know. And I would get iterations of the script, and I would say, like, I want to do Shrinking.
Mhm.
And then it was so weird because they called Harrison Ford. And then 2 days later, Brett met with Harrison Ford in London. And
Uh-huh.
Harrison drank Brett under the table. And he said, I want to do it. And then it was like Jason Segel came in and he writes and he'd be at the house. And I
Yeah.
said to Bill, I mean, my agents were like, but you could still do maybe squeeze. I was like, I'm doing Shrinking. I'm doing Shrinking.
Putting all of my attention to Shrinking.
I just loved it. It just spoke to me. It was different. I've done broad comedy,
Mhm.
or, this is a totally different. And it was when we did the table read, it was the best table read I've ever done. And I'm sorry, am I bragging too much about the show?
No, I like this. You're saying everything that I've thought about how amazing this show is, so it's totally fine with me.
Sorry, I didn't write it, but we did the table read. I'm sitting next to Harrison Ford, who's sitting next to Jason Segel. And besides the fact that the whole cast, Jessica Williams, Michael, everyone has like a different energy, a different timing. We did this table read and everyone was laughing. Usually when the network and studio come, and everyone was laughing, and then you couldn't hear a pin drop. It's the best table read ever went. And when I walked out, the Apple people walked out with me and I said, don't you have notes? And they said, no.
We're
This has
good.
happened before. It was bizarre. And I
Well,
was nervous. I said, everyone is so good. I said to Bill, everyone is so good. My heart is in my throat. Like my heart is beating. Like everyone is so good. I, I don't know.
it's the cast is truly fantastic. There's not a single person that is miscast, and I think not only the cast but the characters that they're playing are just so incredibly well written. Liz in particular, this character is so complex and dynamic, going from the just like as a viewer, the different ways that you come to look at her. You start off, you see her as the helpful neighbor who's trying to do what's right for Alice, for this daughter next door. But then you're also seeing her through Jimmy's lens and Gabby's lens as kind of like overbearing and overstepping. So you don't really know how to feel about her. And then eventually, after a couple episodes, you just come to love her, and you come to love everything about her, and the comedy and the caring, just everything that she brings to the table. But then at the same time, she's grappling with her own issues as she's trying to, she's an empty nester now. What am I
Yeah.
doing? What are my passions? Who are my
What's my life?
friends? What is making my day to day? And I'm just curious, when you're approaching a character that has, so much growth within the same season, but also just so many different avenues to explore. What is that like? And how do you narrow? I know you didn't write it, but as you're trying to figure out how to play each scene, like how are you approaching all of these different elements within the same character?
I sorry, let me adjust my computer a little. I have like three friends, unlike me, that have had three children. One friend has four, and they were like PTA. I worked when I had kids, so I would go to their games and I would, work it around, but I was always working. I had
Right.
a nanny, no nanny, everything. I mean, they were the moms I really relied on because they would call me and go, remember, you got to bring the snack. Oh, and I was like, I'm at work. They're like, I'll bring your snack. Moms that covered for me and told me, you could still make the last 15 minutes of the baseball game. And I would rush up, really covered me because they were so on it and I wasn't. And then their kids went away and they were moms. They were just,
Right.
and they were great moms, and they made it work for the moms that work. They were incredible and such special people to me. And all three of them have created, but it took a while. It's like 2 years, like, what am I gonna do? What are my interests? And
Right.
all three of them have these really cool businesses that are taking off, that are incredible, and have this whole new life. They get annoyed when their kids come home. They're like, I have work to do, and it's annoying, and they make the house messy. They don't care, but it took a while. And I know that feeling of being empty. It was
Mhm.
like a depression they were in.
And you see some of that again, growth that Liz has gone through as the season progresses, from whether it's toying with her son, pulling on his emotions over text, saying like, oh, I need you, but now I'm not going to answer actually, or the side hustle, the business that you're referencing. Maybe we'll get some food truck stuff coming into this next season as we see Sean and Liz partner together. But also, something that fills the void here is Gabby and the relationship that Liz and Gabby develop.
Yes.
One of my favorites in a show filled with great character relationships. I think going from, that invisible basketball that sets them against each other at the beginning, to then getting a rock being welcomed into the inner circle and having a brand together, that seeing them grow has been fantastic. And I'm curious, a two-part question here is, in season one, what was your favorite relationship to watch develop? And in season two, is there someone, whether it's, just on an acting basis or a character basis, who do you want to see more of with Liz?
I love that. I mean, when I tell you that everyone has a different, also this show, I've never worked on a show that everyone brings their A game. When they call you to set, everyone's on set.
Mhm.
Jason and Bill set the tone. Everyone knows their lines backwards and forwards. Usually when you start, you have a rehearsal and you'll have baby sides. They make the sides for the scene in a baby, and everyone's like rehearsing with it. No one does that. Everyone So we play because we're not trying to get takes where people don't know their lines, which is incredible. But Jessica and I, like Jessica has a different comics, which is hilarious, but it's different than mine. So when we're together, it's so joyful and it's so unexpected in the scene when we're doing it. I
know
don't know what's gonna happen.
when I was speaking with her, she was talking about a lot of the ability to improv that she was given, that the entire cast was given when you're doing these scenes. Being on the receiving end of all of her improv and quick wit, how does that? You obviously have to improvise your response then if she's going off script or something with a quip or a remark or something like that. What is it like to be on the opposite end, trying to volley back and forth with her? Because it obviously works out to great success.
It's so fun. And also, we do it, so we have it a couple times as written. We are very respectful to the writers. And then when she goes off and I start laughing or I start, saying ridiculous things about, some of the takes, you don't even know what we're saying. They're so, when you cut back and we're laughing because we're saying the most inappropriate things and it makes us both laugh. And then sometimes Bill will just won't put the inappropriate thing in, we'll put the line in, then but it keep it laughing. He really edits us well. And it's also streaming, so we can say some inappropriate things.
Right. We need the X-rated blooper edition to come out.
Oh my God.
So that everybody
We
else
need
can
a
get on
blooper of that show. It's so inappropriate. Jason calls me fucker. He's like, hey, fucker. We'll do it in the show sometimes. There is a loose quality and they mix and match, from a take. That's the writers the writers on our show also are incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they're on set, what's fun, and it's fun when any of these writers are on set, especially like also when Zach Braff directs. He's, one of my best friends, but he's great at this. He'll just say that, or, do that joke. And then it'll be, it's exciting to work on this show.
For sure. I know, speaking of like all the writers, the creators of the show, obviously you have a pretty close relationship with Bill. I'm curious, when you're going to work, you've got your real life husband who's helping create this show. Then you've got your work husband in Ted McGinley playing Derek. How much, if any, of the real life relationship was projected into what Liz and Derek have on screen? I'm curious because their relationship is so fun. And when I was talking with Ted about it, he was like, well, I don't, I'm not over at their house often, so I don't know how much is real and how much isn't. But I feel like there's some sort of like underlying representation of your relationship here.
Well, Bill has tried to cast Ted McGinley for many, many years. And for some reason or another, it didn't work out. And he when it came to my husband, they were thinking of all these different people. And I said to my husband, I want a handsome husband. I want a handsome husband. And I think it's like, we should have a great sex life and it should be a happy marriage. It should be our marriage, like a sexy, fun marriage. And then he goes, what about Ted McGinley? I'm like, oh my God, Ted McGinley. And also he's a comedy assassin.
He's so funny.
Recurring. He was supposed to be recurring. He would come in, comedy assassin. Also, he's the loveliest person. He's Bill. I think he has a lot of Bill, and also what Bill would want to say but doesn't say to me, because I'm like, fuck that, you're not doing that. I tend to have a lot of boundaries. But
so he was subconsciously writing some of the things he wanted to get off his chest through Derek and his actions.
Yeah, for sure. Like Derek saying, you're gonna have to find something and get out of the house. I'm gonna be in the house. And I said during the pandemic, I put Bill downstairs in what was a guest room and I made him I'm like, you're there 9 to 5. You can't be in my office chatting and hanging out. Like I'll go crazy because we had all our kids and everybody was fun.
Yeah.
I like my solitude. But anyway, yes, Ted has Bill's cheery disposition. But when Michael Urie, because it's a Bill thing, I don't know if I should say this, but he says that as a joke, but Michael Urie says everything goes my way. Bill always says that.
I know. I'm curious. I'm talking with Michael tomorrow, so
I love Michael.
That I wanted to bring up because I'd heard about that.
Oh my God! First of all, I'm obsessed with Michael. I love him. I want to play more because also we've gotten into a thing that when we're doing the show that I just drive Michael crazy, and tease him. And so I love when I get to work with him, especially if I'm with Michael and Jessica, because he hates it when we gang up against him and it's just, but Michael also, how you can mention to him, he has a boyfriend named Ryan, who I feel like I should be my boyfriend.
You better
I,
watch
you know,
out.
I love Ryan. So
Well, I'll have to ask him about that. But I know a couple of questions left here. One of the things that people may not know about this show and your role is that you're obviously starring as Liz, but you're also pulling double duty as the music supervisor. So this show has such a fantastic soundtrack. As you know, we go from Billy Joel at the very beginning, Kid Cudi in the teaser. You've got Simon and Garfunkel in there. You've got Gabby's playlist that Jessica has crafted. I'm curious what goes into the perfect needle drop when you're planning a scene? And more specifically, how did you settle on Phoebe Bridgers' I Know the End? Because that is the perfect 15-minute song.
it's the perfect song. We love Phoebe Bridgers. My daughter Charlotte is friends with her. And that was also fun because it was written into the script. I love when a song is written in because then it's cut like a music video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's when we know, it's like we knew Modern Love was cut in the script, and also Dermot by Fred again when Jason's dancing with anyway, which is a song I love. But I had the script for so long, so I was banking music,
Right.
and sometimes I have like 20 favorite. So I have a lot of songs, and then I have 20 favorite that I always want to put in. Sometimes they don't make it because they don't work. You can tell when you get goosebumps. You can tell when it's like you play something that's off the beat that you think it should be like a sad scene. You put a fast song in, and you get goosebumps. And the doing the music is the most fun, and also the most fun because during the week I know what the script is, and I can think, and I work with music acting wise. It's I know what songs I want to put in. You know, I know where I'm gonna put. I don't know.
That's
It's
so fun to, I feel like just like myself, you know, I'm driving in the car and I'm like, oh, this song would be great for a scene. And you get to actually do that, listen to it, and then figure out where to put it into a show.
And I also can hear it. I'm like, everyone will love this. Like, if we put this out, like Charlotte has my daughter, Charlotte Lawrence, is a new song out called Body Bag, and it's incredible. But I don't like that. I didn't want to like, I'd score the whole show with Charlotte Lawrence if I could, but you know, I can't. So I'm careful about placing, you know, I'm careful. And I had her in a very small placement, and the editor put her in this big, you know, when Lukita Alice is trying goes to kiss Sean.
Yeah.
It's so awkward, and we put Body Bag in there, Charlotte's song, and it was a great placement, and it just was released. I don't know, that was like a placement. I'm so glad that people like the music. I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely. Well, final question. We mentioned the 15 minutes, not for Liz, but Christa Miller, 15 minutes on the clock to cry your heart out. What song are you picking?
To cry my heart out. Okay.
It's a tough one. It's hard.
I know what it is.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's Bon Iver, The Wolves.
Okay.
It makes me like at the end when it says, you know, it doesn't matter that whatever the words are at the end, I don't mind. And I think of, you know, a parent that didn't care about me, and I think I'm fine. That's the song I could just sit and cry to in my car if I tuned in.
You had me at Bon Iver. That's any song there, I feel like is the.
What about you?
Well, this is the thing. When I was talking to Luke, he flipped it back on me and I was caught so off guard. So I relate to you trying to figure it out. But I would say my answer to him was something by Hozier. I feel like I didn't have it nailed down to a specific, but that's very emotional music to me. I feel like it's a good blend of a little bit of upbeat, but also you can get in your feels with it. So I don't know what specific song. I'll have to be prepared in case somebody else asks me.
Well, you should get my email, and if you're listening to a song that you think is like the most amazing song, I will listen to.
Wow.
The people love, and if you send it to me, I will listen because I'm interested what people think is like the feels. The problem is we can't do too much of the feels because we don't. Sometimes when a scene is sad, you know, I want to put in all sad songs, and then
Right. You don't want, you
it
can't kick them while
tragic.
they're down.
Yeah, it gets too tragic, and it's a comedy.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Okay.
you balance it.
I'll hold you to that. I'll have to send something your way. Maybe we'll get
Send
a
something
season
my way. You
2.
can send a little playlist. I might go, that's it, but I'll listen. And I'm always
Okay.
wanting to get music because I'm banking music right now.
Amazing. I will absolutely hold you up to that. Christa, thank you for stopping by. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Again, congratulations on the show. It's been
Thank
so
you.
much fun to watch, and I'm excited for award season, for season 2, for everything that's to come.
Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure talking to you.